Hello everybody, it's your boy the Catacomb, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm going to explain how the January 6th Commission should have been handled. I think it should be a commission of all 9 Supreme Court Justices, 10 Senators, and 20 House Representatives. I've also got some rules that will be followed. Rule 1, the 5 most conservative voting record Democrats will be chosen. Number 2, the 5 most liberal voting record Republicans from the Senate will be chosen. Number 3, the 10 most conservative voting record Democrats from the House will be chosen. Rule number 4, the 10 most liberal voting record Republicans from the House will be chosen. This is to keep this as bipartisan as possible, with people who have currently voted with Biden the most and the least from both sides could help that. For Republicans only, they cannot be chosen if they voted to impeach President Trump or voted to object to the certification of the Electoral College. This is to keep the far right or the establishment from this debate as best as possible. There will be 1 month for a trial debate, and then 1 week for the Supreme Court justices to debate before the final decision. The decision will be final, and any action to continue the situation will be removed from Congress. This is on the assumption something like this can be done, as this should be the final decision on the situation. The 30 members of Congress and the 9 justices will vote on the questions the Supreme Court will ask, excluding the following. Was President Trump responsible for the January 6th attack? Should President Trump be barred from running in the 2024 election? Does the First Amendment's right to assembly protect riots? And who else is responsible for the riots within 2020 and 2021? These questions will already be established for the Supreme Court to make a decision on, as well as any other questions the 30 members of Congress need answered. Finally, the Commission will look into both the summer race riots and the January 6th riot. For the 5 Senate Republicans I have selected, based off my standards, Senator Rob Portman, Senator Lindsey Graham, Senator Shelley Moore Capito, Senator Mike Rounds, and Senator Roy Blunt. For the 5 Senate Democrats, I have selected Senator Bernie Sanders, Kirsten Gillibrand, Patty Murray, Chris Van Hollen, and Tammy Baldwin. For the 10 House Republicans, I have selected Brian Fitzpatrick, Chris Smith, Tom Reed, Maria Salazar, Andrew Garbarino, Don Young, David Joyce, Young Kim, Rodney Davis, and Don Bacon. For the 10 House Republicans, I have selected Jared Golden, Cori Bush, Vincent Gonzalez, Jahana Hayes, Ron Kine, Pramila Jayapal, Ayanna Presley, Jamal Bowman, Henry Sueller, and Sean Casten. Throughout this trial, Chief Justice John Roberts will serve as the judge, and when someone doesn't abide by the rules, their side will lose time to speak, and if interruptions continue to happen, they will be removed from the commission and charged. And charged with what, you may ask? Contempt of court, which is a sentence of up to 150 days in jail, obstruction of Congress, which is up to years in prison, perjury, which is up to 41 months in jail, and criminal incitement, which is up to a year in jail. Also, throughout the 30 days of trial, there will be a suspect or a witness brought to the court and will be to be asked questions by the members of Congress once a day. If any of the people chosen fails to show up or follow the rules set, it will be an automatic charge. The first person to be brought to the court will be Oregon Governor Kate Brown. She was the governor when the race riots broke out in Portland. She multiple times failed to answer whether Mayor Ted Wheeler should resign after the Portland race riots, failed to send the Oregon National Guard to quell the riot, essentially blamed the riots on President Trump. The 30 members of the commission will each have the chance to ask up to 3 questions to each suspect, as well as each member of the Supreme Court if they choose so. However, the justices are the only ones who get a choice in asking a question or not. Next is Louisiana Senator John Kennedy. Senator Kennedy voted to object to the certification of the Electoral College, going on with the claim that the election was rigged, which many say is the reason the January 6th attack happened. Next is Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar. Senator Klobuchar was targeted by BLM and Antifa for her role as Hennepin County attorney and her failure to prosecute cops in the racial injustice cases. Next is Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton. He argued the military should be sent to handle the summer race riots, as well as blaming Republican senators who voted to object to the Electoral College as the reason as to why the January 6th attack happened. Next is Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Similar to Kate Brown, Governor Walz failed to send the National Guard in, as well as rejected Trump's offer to send in the federal National Guard. Next is Kansas Senator Roger Marshall, one of the senators who voted to object to the certification of the Electoral College, as well as pose the creation of a commission. Next is Massachusetts Congressman Seth Moulton. During the summer race riots, Seth Moulton urged the National Guard to lower their weapons while the riot was happening. Next is Mississippi Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith. She was one of the senators who voted to object to the certification of the Electoral College, as well as well as voting against the creation of a commission. Next is LA Mayor Eric Garcetti. He was one of multiple mayors who defunded their police stations, causing crime rates to skyrocket. Next is Indiana Senator Mike Braun. He went on to the Tucker Carlson Tonight Show and defended BLM and Antifa rioters. He also originally planned to object to the Electoral College certification before the January 6th attack occurred, and refused to condemn President Trump for the riot. Next is Michigan Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib. She was one of many on the left pushing the defund the police narrative while the summer race riots occurred. Next is Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville, one of the senators who voted to object to the Electoral College certification, pushing the narrative that led to the January 6th attack. Next is Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. She defended the rioters, stating the protests were valid, as well as pushed the defund the police narrative. Next is Texas Senator Ted Cruz, one of the people who have taken the blame for the January 6th attack, for his vote objecting to the certification of the Electoral College, and has even met calls to resign over it. Next is St. Paul Mayor Melvin Carter, the mayor during the summer race riots. He called the riots an insult to humanity. Next is Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. Raffensperger was urged by President Trump to overturn the election results, with his refusal to do so resulting in calls for him to resign. Next is New York City Bill de Blasio, who was heckled by BLM and Antifa over his response to the death of George Floyd due to a passive use of stop and frisk. He was also another mayor who defunded their city's police department. Next is Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. Along with voting to object to the certification of the Electoral College, he also called the January 6th attackers political prisoners, as well as failing to condemn the violence. Next is Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler. The mayor during the Portland riots, he refused President Trump's offer to send the National Guard to quell the riots, before begging President Trump to send them in afterwards. He also defunded Portland's police department after the riots occurred. Next is Arizona Congressman Paul Gosar. Along with voting to object to the certification of the Electoral College, he has been one of the main people to have been accused of the riot happening. He has even been condemned by his own family over it. Next is California Congresswoman Maxine Waters. Well, many times she has stated, quote, "I don't give a damn what the law says," end quote, called for more people to rise up during the summer race riots, and even faced expulsion from Congress for her past statements on the riots. Next is Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who voted to object to the certification of the Electoral College, called the January 6th attackers political prisoners, as well as defended the rioters. Next is New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She went online and told people to, quote, radicalize, end quote, pushed for defunding the police, and was blasted for exaggerating her experience during the January 6th attack. Next is former Vice President Mike Pence. He was the president of the Senate during the Electoral College certification vote, and has claimed President Trump never called him during the January 6th attack. Next is Speaker Nancy Pelosi. During an interview, when asked about the summer race riots, she asked, quote, "Why aren't more people rising up?" end quote, and threatened to fight Capitol rioters, which is actually pretty funny and something I would have liked to see. Next is Fox News host Tucker Carlson. Carlson went on his shows and attacked both the Democrats and President Trump for their responses to the riots, suggested the Capitol riot was orchestrated by the FBI, and mocked the federal police's testimony of the January 6th attack. Next is Vice President Kamala Harris. Harris, along with most of the Biden campaign, was suspected of bailing out BLM and Antifa rioters, failed to condemn the violence, and called for, quote, protests, end quote, to continue. Next is Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, called the secondary catalyst to the Capitol insurrection, voted to object to the certification of the Electoral College, and claims to have no regrets over it. Next is President Joe Biden. During his presidential campaign, his campaign was accused of bailing out violent rioters during the summer race riot, as well as failing to condemn Antifa or BLM during the presidential debate. And finally, the big man himself, former President Donald Trump, was accused by many Democrats that he was the one that started the summer race riots, rejected cities from help from the Federal National Guard after cities once refused, claimed the 2020 election was rigged, which led to the January 6th attack, and of course he was impeached a second time by the House for this and was acquitted by the Senate by 10 votes. No matter what the Supreme Court decides, no matter the verdict, it should be accepted by all Americans, even though those on the far left and far right will make any outrageous excuse they can. The Supreme Court should make the final decision on this case. There is a clear bias in Congress, and the Supreme Court could quell most of that bias. Sadly, not all of the bias, though. But this is the best we could do as a country. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to go follow my Twitter, @ChaoticPolitics. This is the Chaotic One saying, Peace.